our cooperation with Jordan, doing defense capacity building in Jordan. We are now in the process of assessing a request from the government of Iraq to help them with build institution, reform, increase their ability to create stability. We stand ready to do that in Libya when the situation on the ground allows. And actually, even if we don't call it defense capacity building, what we are doing in Afghanistan now is defense capacity building. We are helping the Afghans building their capacity to take full responsibility also in the future for their own security. And I think that to develop also the ability of countries in the region to take more responsibility for their own security is important for the countries in the region, but also for NATO, and we have to do more of that.
Fantastic. I think we'll take a lightning round of the next 3 questions. We have, so we'll go to this side, the one in the back right there, please, sir.
Thank you. Vadim Allen, Voice of America News. I would like to ask, we here in the United States, we hear more voices now in the media and on the internet that crisis in Ukraine and standoff with Russia is mostly a European problem. And what would you say to those people who say that it should be European countries putting most efforts into resolving the crisis, and it should be Germany or France leading the way? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we take one more? I see one in the back in the corner, please.
So good morning. My name's Paul Tennant. I'm a British exchange officer here in DC. There was a fascinating exercise here last year in CSIS which considered a Russia scenario. And one of the most interesting things was an interaction with the audience in which there was almost no agreement on what constituted a breach of Article 5. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the challenge of defining the threshold at which Article 5 is breached, particularly in a domain like cyber, and also maybe speak slightly to dealing with an adversary who determinedly stays below that threshold.
Fantastic question. I think with time, I'm going to have you respond to those 2 questions.
First, about Ukraine. Ukraine is in Europe, but of course it's a problem or a crisis which affects not only European countries, because when international law is violated, it undermines the whole idea of a world order which is based on rules. So of course it's important for the global order when international law is violated in the way we have seen in Ukraine, and when it comes to the annexation of the illegal annexation of Crimea. Europeans are in lead when it comes to trying to find a solution, because France and Germany in particular, but also all the European countries, are really in lead. But of course it's great to also have the United States taking part in the efforts, and the United States is doing that. Canada is providing support for Ukraine, and the whole NATO alliance is providing both strong political and practical support to Ukraine. In addition, several NATO allies provide, for instance, training and direct support to Ukraine. So I think this is a European challenge, but it's also a global challenge. And it's a challenge which NATO as an alliance, a transatlantic alliance, is addressing. Then when it comes to Article 5, the important thing is that NATO stands ready to protect and defend all allies against any threat. And when it comes to, for instance, cyber, I think the important thing we did so last year was to decide that also a cyber attack can trigger Article 5, collective defense, because we regard cyber as potentially as dangerous as a conventional attack, and therefore we are developing our capabilities to respond, partly to detect who is behind. Our main responsibility is to defend our own NATO networks, We are developing teams, capabilities.